Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm continuing my review of The Book of the Damned by Charles Fort. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. There are many ways to support the show. You can always like and share the show with others. You can also sign up for the Patreon feed and get extra shows there for as little as $1 a month. And or you can also check out the merchandise store and find all kinds of things there, shirts and other items uh, with designs made by friends of the show on them. And support is never expected but always appreciated, as there are always expenses in making these shows. So this is an ongoing series for quite a while now. Probably will be going for quite a while longer. Uh, where I am reading and then reviewing the Book of the Damned by Charles Fort, like I said. So there are a few things I always like to start with in these shows. First of all, you and or I may not agree with everything that Charles Fort says in his book, as far as his ideas and thoughts and other things. So just be aware of that. Also, this this book came out about 100 years ago or more, so there may be some things in there that were mysterious at the time, unexplained and anomalous at the time that uh, are now explained, are now sort of thought to be understood, and all these things. So just keep that in mind. If anything, if it seems like Fort is making a big deal out of something that isn't a big deal now, just keep in mind the time period in which it was researched and written. Also, I will make mistakes in reading and pronouncing uh, words and names and places and people's names, all those things at times, because words are hard and they're not all of the words in this book are in English. So just like I said, I like to start with these shows with those notes, just so you all understand what how these shows work. So especially those of you that may not have been listening before. So thank you for being here. And let me get to the document here, the book here. Um, and hello, Ricky. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. So yeah, let me get to this book here, and we'll go from there. Hello, sweets. Thank you for being here as well. So for I'm not sure, I don't remember now who was here the last time I tried to record this show and who wasn't, but this is I already tried to record this once, and there was a technical difficulty. So if this sounds familiar to anyone here, that then you were here for a previous stream, that may be why the recording lost its connection somehow, like 22 minutes in, and which is like 2 minutes before the show was going to end, and I didn't know until after I was done with the show. So yeah, things happen. Uh, Technical difficulties happen to everyone. You just never know. So let me find my spot in here. Um, and in this part of the book, I do remember Charles Fort was talking about astronomy and objects out in space and predicting things and predictions that turn out not to be totally accurate at the time. So this is kind of where we're at in this book here as I'm starting today, back up again today. So, reading now. It says, so my acceptance is that, though curtly dismissed, there was something to base upon in this report, that there were unusual markings upon this object. Of course, that is not to jump to the conclusion that they were cuneiform characters. that look like fingerprints. Maybe we're not on astronomy. Thought we were, but maybe not. Altogether, I think that in some of our past expressions, we must have been very efficient. If the experience of Mr. Simmons be typical, so indefinite are we becoming here. Just here, we uh, are interested in many things that have been found, especially in the United States, which speak of a civilization or of many civilizations not indigenous to this earth. One trouble is in trying to decide whether they fell here from the sky or were left behind by visitors from other worlds. We have a notion that there have been disasters aloft and that coins have dropped uh, here, that inhabitants of this earth found them or saw them fall and then made coins imitating them, or imitatively. It may be that coins were showered here by something of a tutelary nature that undertook to advance us from the stage of barter to the use of a medium. Again, just to point out here, as I said before, Fort is talking about beings from other worlds traveling here somehow. So in a way, you could say he's talking about aliens and UFOs, which is really fascinating because this is before either of those terms were popularized, many years before. Okay, back to the book here. If coins should be identified as Roman coins, we've had so much experience with identifications that we know a phantom when we see one. But even so, how could Romans uh, have I lost my spot. Roman coins, there we go, have got to North America, far in the interior of North America, or buried under the accumulation of centuries of soil, unless they did drop from wherever the first Romans came from. Ignatius Donnelly in Atlantis gives a list of objects that have been found in mounds that are supposed to antedate all European influence in America. Lathe-made articles, such as traders from somewhere would supply to savages. Marks of the lathe said to be unmistakable. Said to be, of course, we can't accept that anything is unmistakable. In the report of the Smithsonian Institute, 1881-619, not sure if that's right, there is an account by Charles C. Jones of two silver crosses that were found in Georgia. Uh, let me see. They were skillfully made, highly ornamental crosses, but are not conventional crucifixes. All arms are of equal length. Mr. Jones is a good positivist. That De Soto had halted at the precise spot where these crosses were found. But the spirit of negativeness that lurks in all things said to be precise shows itself in that upon one of these crosses is in an inscription that has no meaning in Spanish or any other known terrestrial language. And then it has some characters here I, and they're put in English letters, IYNKICIDU. According to Mr. Jones, he thinks that this is a name and that there is an Aboriginal ring to it, though I should say, myself, that he was thinking of the far distant Incas, that the Spanish donor cut on the cross the name of an Indian to whom it was presented. But we look at the inscription ourselves and see that the letters said to be C and D are turned the wrong way, and that the letter said to be K is not only turned the wrong way, but is upside down. It is difficult to accept that the remarkable, the very extensive copper mines in the region of Lake Superior were ever the works of Americans, or American Aborigines. Despite the astonishing extent of these mines, nothing has ever been found to indicate that the region was ever inhabited by permanent dwellers. In quotation marks, not a vestige of a dwelling, a skeleton, or a bone has been found. In quotation marks. The Indians have no traditions relating to the mines. In parentheses, American Antiquarian 25-258. I think that we've had visitors, that they have come here for copper, for instance, as to other relics of them, but we now come upon frequency of a merger that has not so often appeared before. Fraudulency. Hair called real hair. Then there are wigs. Teeth called real teeth. Then there are false teeth. Official money, counterfeit money. It's the bane of psychic research. If there be psychic phenomena, there must be fraudulent psychic phenomena. So desperate is the situation here that Carrington argues that even if Palladino be caught cheating, that is not to say that all her phenomenon are fraudulent. I don't know the names of those people, but so I apologize. My own version is that nothing indicates anything in a positive sense, because in a positive sense, there is nothing to be indicated. Everything that is called true must merge away indistinguishably into something called false. Both are expressions of the same underlying quasiness and are continuous. Fraudulent antiquarian relics are very common, but they are not more common than are fraudulent paintings. W. S. Forrest, Historical Sketches of Norfolk, Virginia. That in September 1833, when some workmen near Norfolk were boring for water up from a depth of about 30 feet. It was about the size of an English shilling, but oval, an oval disc, if not a coin. The figures upon it were distinct, and represented, in quotation marks, a warrior or hunter and other characters, apparently of Roman origin, in quotations. The means of exclusion would probably be men digging a hole, no one else looking, One of them drops a coin into the hole. As to where he got a strange coin, remarkable in shape, even, that's disregarded. Up comes the coin. Expressions of astonishment from the evil one who had dropped it. However, the antiquarians have missed this coin. I can find no other mention of it. Another coin, also a little study in the genesis of a prophet. In the American Antiquarian 16-313 is copied a story by a correspondent to the Detroit News of a copper coin about the size of a 2-cent piece, said to have been found in a Michigan mound. The editor says merely that he does not endorse the find. Upon this slender basis, he buds out in the next number of the Antiquarian. In quotation, the coin turns out, as we predicted, to be a fraud. In quotations. You can imagine the scorn, of Elijah or any of the old, more nearly real prophets. Or all things are tried by the only kind of jurisprudence we have in quasi-existence, presumed to be innocent until convicted, but they're guilty. The editor's reasoning is as phantom-like as my own, or St. Paul's, or Darwin's. The coin is condemned because it came from the same region from which, a few years before, had come pottery that had been called fraudulent. The pottery had been condemned because it was condemnable. Scientific American, June 17th, 1882. That a farmer in Cass County, Illinois, had picked up on his farm a bronze coin, which was sent to Professor F. Hilder of St. Louis, who identified it as a coin of Antiochus IV. Inscription said to be in ancient Greek characters, translated as King Antiochus Epiphanes, which means illustrious in parentheses there, the victorious, in quotation. Sounds quite definite and convincing, but we have some more translations coming. In the American Pioneer 2-169 are shown two faces of a copper coin with characters very much like those upon the Grave Creek stone, which with translations we'll take up soon. This coin is said to have been found in Connecticut in 1843. Records of the Past 12-182. That early in 1913, a coin, said to be a Roman coin, was reported as discovered in Illinois, in an Illinois mound. It was sent to Dr. Emerson of the Art Institute of Chicago. His opinion was that the coin is, in quotations, of the rare mintage of Domitius, emperor in Egypt, in quotation marks. As to its discovery in an Illinois mound, Dr. Emerson disclaims responsibility. But what strikes me here is that A joker should not have been satisfied with an ordinary Roman coin. Where did he get a rare coin, and why was it not missed from some collection? I have looked over numismatic journals enough to accept that the whereabouts of every rare coin in anyone's possession is known to coin collectors. Seems to me nothing left than to call this another identification. Proceedings of American Philosophical Society 12-224 that in July of 1871 a letter was received from Mr. Jacob W. Moffett of Chillicothe, I'm not sure, Illinois, enclosing a photograph of a coin which he said had been brought up by him while boring, that means drilling, from a depth of 120 feet. Uh, of course, by conventional scientific standards, such depth has some extraordinary meaning. Paleontologists, geologists, and archaeologists consider themselves reasonable in arguing ancient origin of the far buried. We only accept depth as a pseudo standard with us. One earthquake could bury a coin of recent mintage 120 feet below the surface. I do like that. According to a writer in the proceedings, the coin is uniform in thickness and had never been hammered out by savages. In quotation marks, there are other tokens of the machine shop. In quotation. Okay. But according to Professor Leslie, it is an astrologic amulet. In quotation marks. There are upon it the signs of Pisces and Leo. In quotation marks. Let's see here. Check how long the next one is. Okay, so we are going to. Oh wait, let's see here. Yeah, no, we're gonna stop here. Wait, hang on. No. Okay, I did that. All right, yeah. So there's a long paragraph here. So this is amazing here. I'm not sure. We must have done a section on astrology or astronomy. Sorry, astronomy in a previous one of these Book of the Damned review shows. But so that's what I must have been thinking of. But here we have objects being found, and I do like what Fort is talking about, how something being claimed to be authentic and versus fake, it can depend a lot on who you ask and how many people you ask and all these factors in all these items. So it's a good point there with these objects. But also I like how he's pointing out how to him it seems like at least some of these things that people find deep in the ground could have been left there through mysterious means or for other beings of other civilizations. Again, going back to that aliens and or UFOs concept. So that is all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsidoparanormal. Take care.